every single Michigan Wolverine fan is over the moon at how excellent this team has been all season long, certainly in respect to what the team did win-loss wise last year. And joining us now, fresh off of being the first coach in the history of the Big Ten to win the Big Ten tournament in his first season with a team in the Big Ten, is Michigan head basketball coach Dusty May. How are you, Coach? Good to see you.
Doing well, Rich. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Come on now. Certainly since I had Izzo on yesterday, I got to be fair and balanced, even though when it comes to Michigan, people know I am not fair nor balanced. You know what I mean?
I understand.
So I had to do
I'm
it.
Staying away from all Michigan State conversation.
Okay, I know. Hey, listen, but the key is going into this tournament, the big dance, with a nice Big Ten tournament head of steam. To what do you owe the 3 wins in a row in this tournament, coming off of 3 regular season losses to end that campaign, Coach?
Well, I'll begin. This entire season, we've given you the full experience. We've built big leads, and we've let teams come back. We've dug ourselves a hole. We've came back. So you never really know what you're going to get. But we played 5 games in 14 days, and we looked out of gas. We're not a very deep team, and late in the season, we just got outplayed by some really quality opponents, and we had basically a week off because we were able to secure the double bye. And so we were able to take a day off, practice, get back to some fundamentals and practicing well and figuring ourselves out and trying to redo what we were doing when we were playing good basketball. And our guys just went to Indianapolis with a lot of confidence and belief, and they looked like a connected group.
And how do you get a team that kind of gets, for the lack of a better phrase, thrown together in one off season? How do you get that team to play as a unit and succeed at it, Coach?
Well, it's not easy. And I think when you look at all the teams that went into the portal and brought in new people, there's a lot in other tournaments other than the NCAA, and there are a lot that are already done, because the players that came in, they weren't nearly as consumed with winning as they were the other things. So we're trying to find the guys that care about people, that want to win, that want to do it together, and they want to chase their own individual goals, but while doing it with other guys and realize they need each other. So it's, we have a group that they all came together from winning programs, so they knew what it looked like. And even if they had expectations of something more, because they're good guys, they usually came back into the fold instead of, dropping their head and going in another direction. So we've been close to splintering a couple times this year, but credit our guys. They've stayed together. They have great character. If there's been issues with players, they'll go have breakfast together, and maybe one of their teammates will call the meeting. So there's been a lot of really cool things happen this year, as it's been a real roller coaster ride.
Well, and in terms of portal to leave, it appears you had that opportunity just a couple of weeks ago. And I'll be honest, yours truly and all of my friends and fellow Wolverine fans, we were wringing our hands because it was your alma mater that was allegedly interested in knocking on your door. Why did you choose to stay, Coach?
First of all, my wife and I, we have 2 sons at Michigan now. My middle son, Charlie's a walk-on for us, and my youngest son, Eli, is a manager. And so we've just found we've been really, really comfortable within the Ann Arbor community. Every interaction on campus with our administration has been unbelievable. Everyone here is committed to win, and I'm surrounded by greatness and excellence every day. And it's hard to leave that. It was really, really tough to leave FAU. And when you start to plant roots and develop relationships, it's difficult and daunting to think about going and restarting that again. And so I just felt like right now, this stage, this place really, really fits us, and we've loved being at Michigan.
Well, I'm thrilled that those who could stepped up to make sure that you were financially secured in making that decision. And did you think did you talk to the team about it, or did anybody come up to you? Because obviously, kids are going to be hyper aware of what's online and being discussed in the world. Did you address it at all?
In this case, no. At FAU, we talked about it a lot, and I was very transparent with our guys as they were us. In this case, we're in the middle of the season, and it really just came open, and it was more the media assuming. And so I just didn't feel like it was even time to discuss it, because there wouldn't even need to be a decision for a long time from when we were playing and when it did happen. So I do think our guys were aware of it. I talked about it with a couple of them just in passing as they would make comments. But I do think they were curious.
What were they saying to you? What comments were they saying to you? What?
Like when we played there, they would say like, one of the guys came up and said, "Did you ever dream you'd be in position to maybe be the coach here someday," or something like that? And I said, "Absolutely not." And I never thought that. I said, and I started equating to the managers that we have with us at Michigan. And I said, "Can you imagine coming back in 20 years and Nick or Sam or one of the guys that was with us, those guys are the head coach at Michigan right now." It just doesn't even seem real. So it's more just a hypothetical joke. But yeah, that's the type of relationship we have with our guys. They're allowed to make those comments.
They're allowed to make those comments. I love that. Dusty May of the University of Michigan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into this tournament and what you do say to the kids beforehand. If I may have the temerity to suggest at all about what to say here to your fellow Charges, Dusty. The 5 seed. What the heck? Do you play that card? Do you play the card of the teams that we beat in the tournament got seeded higher? Do you play the people don't believe in us card with the Wolverines?
The guys have obviously heard that. It's been such a popular pick for the first round upset, probably the most popular from what we've heard. But to be honest, we talked about it from the angle of UCSD. Danny Wolf was at Yale last year. Myself, Vlad, and some of the other staffers were at FAU playing high majors. So we talked about it from the perspective of UCSD. And then we talked about what we felt like the high majors were going through as we were playing them, as far as them feeling the pressure as the higher seed, as the team that was supposed to win versus the team that has nothing to lose. And so we chose to go into this tournament with a high level of confidence, but we do have to play with the same edge we played the Big Ten tournament defensively and whatnot. But we also are going into it that we're not afraid to fail. We're not going to be the higher seed that's terrified of what happens if they get a 5-point lead or whatever the case. We're just going to continue to play with poise, aggression, and trust that the results will be there.
Interesting. So you're saying you're talking to the kids, and the kids are talking about they're the ones that used to have the slingshot in their hands and know how powerful that is going into a game. And now that they're, if you will, the Big Ten champion tournament Goliaths, watch out and don't take it for granted. Like, that's the way you're looking at it here?
That's been our messaging so far. For example, at FAU, we felt like when all the Power 5 teams, when it got close down the stretch, we were much looser than them. I'm not saying they were tight, but I felt like we were loose, aggressive, and confident. And then when we played FDU, when the arena turned and they became the fan favorite and they became Cinderella, our guys for a little bit seemed a little bit tight, and FDU played looser. So in a limited experience, we felt like that. But that's also what Danny and Danny Wolf's team played Trey Donaldson's team, Auburn versus Yale last year. So they both talked about what they felt in their locker rooms and what they felt in those moments. And so we just kind of reversed it a little bit. But our guys are going to go into this knowing that we have to be the most aggressive, confident team there, because once the game's tipped, all this stuff goes out the window.
Yeah. And then, of course, looking over the steering wheel, which I know your staff has to do when you're in a tournament and you're going to Denver and you survive and you advance and you got to turn around and play somebody. I mean, of all the teams that you might have to play, I guess Danny Wolf would help, and you would know how to go against Yale. It's kind of amazing how the tournament, seedings kind of wink at you every now and then, Dusty, right?
Absolutely. And Danny's a very cerebral player, so we've had to explain to him that he doesn't need to start working on the scout quite yet. We need to figure out a way to beat UCSD.
He's a cerebral player. I do love the way they play. I love the way the bigs play. You got 2 7-footers doing picks and rolls and stuff like that. 2-man game between 2 huge 7-footers. How much fun is it to game plan with that sort of chess pieces on your board, Dusty?
It's really grown into something that we've been able to use and leverage in a lot of different ways. And They're both so unique. Danny gets a lot of credit for being the pick and roll maestro with the ball in his hands and the ability to find those gaps and seams. But Vlad at 7'1", he's got such great hands that he's able to catch any pass in his radius. So it's really worked well together. And then the other guys, the shooting, the cutting, the off-ball movement has helped those two be successful. And there are certain times of the game we can go to it and feel very confident that we're gonna be able to generate a good look.
And obviously, you've been there, done that, Final Fours, and your run at FAU, putting you on many radar screens, and one that Michigan fortunate enough to get you. Do you connect with John Beilein at all at any point in time before something like this? Bounce things off, anything like that, Dusty May?
Actually, I called him before the Big Ten tournament because that one is something I hadn't played in and wasn't as familiar with, and he gave me some really good insight. And we're gonna use that again going forward this week. I haven't called him this week yet. We traveled yesterday. We're working on fumes now. We got back about midnight Sunday night. And with the Thursday game, we had to leave Tuesday. We had to practice Tuesday morning, and we're already out in Denver now. So we really haven't had enough time other than just to try to dive into UCSD, study their program, figure out a condensed game plan because we're going to practice in just a few minutes.
Okay, and I appreciate the time, obviously, in this very busy condensed schedule. Before I let you go, I mean, altitude, 8 o'clock Eastern Mountain, if you will, tip. I mean, how do you account for all of this? I mean, put it all together, and you're condensing a bunch of stuff in 90 hours, it seems, right? Here?
It is. And just like UCSD, we have a very veteran group that knows how to play basketball, and they play out of concepts most of the time. And so we're trying to figure out what matchups to go at and more importantly, how to take care of the basketball. They're one of the best in the country at forcing turnovers, and we've been loose at times. As far as the altitude, I think we have a real advantage being 880 feet above sea level in Ann Arbor versus the coast of San Diego. So we'll see how that plays out.
That's right. You got 2 7-footers. They know about altitude, just walking around life. I got it. And
we have another foot on most of those guys.
I like it. And obviously you're going to use that. And how is Roddy Gale Jr.? Can you give us any sort of update on how he's feeling? What's going on? How the team is health-wise going into this game, Dusty?
He should be good to go tomorrow. It was nice to see him in the Big Ten tournament. He looked like Roddy again, Roddy from earlier in the season where he was out there hooping, having fun, flying around and impacting winning. So we need that going forward, but we expect him to be a full go tomorrow.
All right, Dusty. Listen, I guess, I saw you over a year ago, right? Detroit Airport I just said hello, and I wanted to talk to you about how to make a flight. And I always appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
Well, Rich, I saw you sprinting through the airport, and I also heard the lead-in where you caught some strays because of your alleged lack of athleticism. So I can attest you've got wills. Your daughter got it honest.
Thank you, Dusty. Look at you coaching me up in that respect, and I see, I know the women have a 6 seed. They gave USC and Juju all she could handle in the Big Ten tournament in their own right. So I'm paying attention to both programs and certainly appreciate you having confidence in me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, our women are fun to watch as well, but I appreciate having me on, Rich.
Always. Thanks again. Good luck, and go blue, sir.
Go blue.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.